Oh, how high would I climb mountains if the mountain was where you hide? Oh, how far I'd scale the valley if you graced the other side. Oh, how long have I chased rivers from lowly seas until they rise against the rush of grace descending from the source of its supply. 'Cause in the highlands and the heartache, you're neither more or less inclined. I would search and stop at nothing. You're just not that hard to find. Oh, I will praise you on the mountain. I will praise you when the mountains are low. You're the summit where my feet are. So I will praise you in the valleys of the sea. No less God within the shadow. No less faithful when the night leads me astray. You're the heaven where my heart is. In the highlands and the heartache all the same. Oh, oh, how far beneath your glory does your kindness descend the path? From where you feed a storm, the sunrise, to where you sweep the sinners past. Oh, how fast would I come running if just a shadow through the night? Trace my steps through all my failures and walk me out the other side. For who could dare ascend that mountain, that valleyed hell called Calvary, but for the one I call Good Shepherd, who like a lamb was slain for me. Oh, I will praise you on the mountain. I will praise you when the mountain's in my way. You're the summit where my feet are. So I will praise you in the valleys of the sea. No less God within the shadow. No less faithful when the night leads me astray. You're the heaven where my heart is. In the highlands and the heartache all the same. Wherever I walk through, wherever I am, you can move mountains wherever I stand. Wherever I walk through the valley of death, listen through the shadows, my song of ascent. Wherever I walk through, wherever I am, listen through the shadows, my song of ascent. Wherever I walk through the valley of death, listen through the shadows, my song of ascent, my song of ascent. From the gravest of all valleys come the pastures we call grace. mighty river flowing upward from a deep but empty grave. Oh, I will praise you on the mountain. I will praise you in the mountains in mine. You're the summit where my feet are. I will praise you on the valleys or the sea. No less God within the shadows. No less faithful when the night leads me astray. You're the heaven where my heart is. In the highlands and the heartache are the same.
This is a golf ball. I don't know if you've ever played with one of these things, but this is one of the most frustrating items ever. If you've never played this, you would think, I mean, the ball's not moving. It's not like baseball. It's not flying at you. But this is a very difficult sport. That's why everyone doesn't do it. Everyone enjoys it. We're out here at the driving range on a cloudy day. You can see there's people, they're hidden, they're doing their thing. But this is a frustrating sport. It's a fun sport because it's a very social sport, but it's frustrating if you don't do it all the time because it's so inconsistent. Let me show you what I mean. Come on. So a few years ago, I was playing golf with some of my friends, Ted, Dan, Gene. We were out playing down at Lake of the Ozarks. Had a great time. Nice course down there. We were playing, and I was in a golf cart with Dan, and it was one of those things where you could drive the cart wherever you wanted to. And Ted and Gene were already at the bottom. They had already hit, and they were gone. And we came over this ridge, and it was just a lot steeper than we guessed it would have been. And so we didn't know why, but there was still some dew, I guess, from the morning, and our golf cart literally went out of control. It did a complete 360 and then another 180 right in the middle of the fairway. And unfortunately, we kind of tore up some of the grass, but we started yelling and screaming. So our friends Ted and Gene, they started looking at like, what is happening up there? And as it started to go around again, I don't know what hit me, but I just thought, I got to get out of this thing. And I literally jumped out of this golf cart that was spiraling out of control. I just launched myself. And we get to the bottom, and they are laughing the hardest I've ever seen anyone laugh. I mean, they're literally bent over, can't catch their breath. A groundskeeper was standing there, and he just looked up at what we had done, that 360, another 180, just shook his head and walked away, didn't say a word. I looked down, my leg is bleeding. It's this entire scene. Crazy, and it happened just that quickly. You know, and it just was reminding me that, you know, there are times in life that you just got to bail out. And so tonight I want to talk about a couple of things about how you want to think about when you got to just bail out of things. But hang on, because that's not the end of the story. All right, talking about bailing out here, times when you want to bail out, you want to forget those things. Number one, when doing a good thing keeps you from doing the best thing. When doing a good thing, something that's good, actually keeps you from the best thing. And from the get-go, I just want to say, you know, the best thing for us is to have a relationship with God that is growing, where every single day we're growing in our relationship with Him. Luke chapter 10, this is an episode with Jesus and Mary and Martha. It says that Jesus and his disciples were on their way, and he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do all this work by myself? Tell her to help me. And Martha, Martha, Jesus said, you are worried and upset about many things, but only one thing is needed. And Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken from her. So it tells us right there when he says that, Mary has chosen. It's a choice we make. We've got to make a choice every single day that we're going to make sure that the best thing in our life that we're working toward is a relationship with God. That there are a lot of good things that we can do. And like it said in the passage, we can get really busy doing stuff, right? And even in these days of quarantine, when, you probably think, oh, I've got all sorts of time. Can't the days go by really quick? And we've got to make sure that we're choosing the best thing. Because if you're not careful, you've heard this before, you'll major on minor things and you're minor on major things. And so, we can get frustrated, we can get unhappy. So tonight I just want to ask yourself, are you involved in a lot of good things or things that might seem harmless? But the reality is you need to bail out on that kind of thinking and really think about having a relationship with God. And that is your highest priority. That's the center of your life. That's what you revolve around. I was told about this story of a farmer. He lived in a rural community and he had all these cows, and he was talking about how easy it is to lose a cow. And he was saying, here's what happens is they find some grass and they nibble on it, and they nibble a little further, and then they'll get out a little farther, and pretty soon they're completely lost because they've just been nibbling on this, nibbling on that, moving a little bit here and there. And that can be our lives, can it? That we just get busy, just nibbling on this and that, and we forget about the most important thing. So I want to encourage you, this is the first thing to think about when you bail out on things. Well, let's bail out on doing good things that keep us from doing the best. And here's why. Because when our vertical relationship with God, we know that God's literally not up, but you know what I mean? When that relationship is right, all the other relationships and all the other things in our lives make a lot more sense. So it's seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you, right? So I want to encourage you with that, the first thing. The second thing I want you to think about bailing out on is when a current thrill will end up hurting you in the long run. When a current thrill will end up hurting you in the long run. Asbestos is this material, it was this cloth that wouldn't burn, and since 1900, 30 million tons of this material was put into buildings all over the United States, and they thought it was incredible because here's this material that doesn't burn. Everybody's all excited about it, but you've probably heard about it. It's toxic. And what happened is years later they figured out that when you breathe these things, it can cause chronic illnesses, and literally hundreds of thousands of people have passed away because of their exposure to asbestos. So again, they're excited about this thing, but in the long run, it's going to hurt them. So, we can just see so many examples in our life of how people, something that they were excited about or was a current thrill ended up really hurting them. And certainly we know, the saying that, sin will keep you longer than you want to stay and make you pay more than you want to pay. So we got to guard our hearts. We got to make sure that our lives are not giving into thrills that are going to in the long run hurt us, because the Lord gives us parameters. He's the things like the Ten Commandments and guidance that he gives us. They're not there to hurt us or to cause us to miss out. They're there to keep us on a straight and narrow path. Golf is one of those things that it has to be very precise. And my goal, because I'm not a real avid golfer, I want to hit the ball straight, because it's really easy to slice it or to hit it on the top of it and top it, and it just kind of goes spinning. We've got to have everything just right for it to be successful. I'm telling you, the enemy wants us to get off course. And he wants us to say, hey, go and chase after this. Do this. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. But the reality is it's going to hurt us. And sin always has a cost. So, in these days of quarantine, bail out on the things that you think, oh, this is exciting right now, but you know that it's going to hurt your relationship with God. Seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these other things will be added to you. So those are the things I want you to think about bailing out on. Number one, when doing a good thing keeps you from doing what is best in your life. And secondly, when a current thrill is going to hurt you in the long run, you got to bail out on those things. So I told you that wasn't the end of the story. When I got to the bottom of the hill, and after they quit laughing at me and dealt with my bleeding leg, my friend Gene said, you know what? You should never have jumped out of that cart. He said that every single year, people die from a golf cart falling on top of them. And he said, when I jumped out, if it had fallen on me, I could have been really injured. And so the reality is, in our lives, there are times we need to bail out, but there are also times when we need to stay in there. So next, let's talk about some things where you want to stay in there, okay? So it's time to stay in there. 3 things real quick I want you to think about. It's time to stay in there when the results will make you better in the long run. During this time of quarantine, some of you maybe have really had your relationship with God flourish. Maybe some of you have had it kind of really just suffer. And so I want to encourage you, you got to stay in there. Philippians 1:6 says, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. God's not done working in you. And even though these days have been difficult, stay in there. Don't give up on your relationship with God. Go deeper than you ever have. You might want to say, it's too hard to do on my own. I'm used to being around Christian fellowship. Listen, reach out to someone, make a phone call, do whatever you need to do, FaceTime. We're kind of beginning to come out of this quarantine thing. Listen, your relationship with God, it's got to be the biggest thing. And so I want to encourage you to stay in there with it, hang in there. God's big enough to see you through this time. And if you'll commit and you'll say, I'm going to stay in there, I'm going to go deeper, I'm going to go harder, I'm going to sacrifice more of my time and my heart, I'm going to pray more, I'm going to worship more. I'm telling you, stay in there. It's time for you to stay in there during this time. Secondly, I want to encourage you to stay in there, and this is huge for us as believers, when a person is at stake. When a person is at stake, when their heart, their self-worth, their salvation is at stake. I know sometimes it can get weary. Sometimes maybe you've done everything you know to do to try to reach out to a friend to help them. But when a person is at stake, you've got to stay in there. I love this story. It's from World War II, and they had this battle set up, and the nurses that were there, they came up with a system. It was a tag system. If the soldier got tagged that was injured with a red tag, it meant they were hopeless. If it was blue, it meant with some help, they would make it. And if it was yellow, it would mean that with no help, they're hurt, but they're going to make it. And so they would come up with this tag system. And so this one nurse had this man come in. His name was Lou. And the reality is he probably should have been tagged hopeless. But just something inside her said, no, I'm not going to give him that tag. I'm just with some help. And even though his chance of survival looked so low, she did everything that she could. And he did recover. And the sweet story is that after the war, they ended up getting married. And so the reality is, when you think, oh, this is hopeless, it's not hopeless. There's a future there. I love what Colossians 3 says. It says, therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, it tells us this, clothe yourself with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive what grievances you may have against one another. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. So let's talk about that. Like with golf, you need a glove, you need tees, you need golf balls, you need clubs, you need the bag, you need all these things. You got to have these things to make it work. Listen, to stay in there and have a great relationship with others, he tells us what you've got to have, what you've got to clothe yourself with: compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. So with the people you're around, your family, your friends, make that part of who you are. Clothe yourself with those things. But also it says to forgive. That's huge. If God has forgiven us for everything that we've done, we can forgive others. So stay in there when a person is at stake. And third, stay in there when God needs a representative. It'd be easy to not take a stand or to just pay attention to your own desires, your own wishes, but there are so many things in this life that we need to be God's representative. We need to be the kingdom ambassador in that situation, whether it's people in need or whether it's a verbal witness sharing the gospel, whether it's caring for the poor, caring for those in need, maybe it's an emotional need, but whatever it is, we've got to be the kind of people that, God, if you're looking for a representative, it's me. Stay in there, because listen, the world needs to see the witness and the lives of the people of God. And teenager, you're not the future of the church, you are the church. Right now, God wants to use you. He wants you to be a representative. What cause is on your heart that you can share the gospel through? What is it that you see the needs around you that you can step up and you can be a representative? Hebrews 12 says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sins that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Here it is. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinful men, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. Listen, let's stay in there. God needs a representative. These are things I want you to think about. Stay in there when it's for your good, for the good of somebody else. And when God needs a representative, you got to stay in there. When you do that, you'll see the joy of how God wants to use you, and you'll see him work. You'll see him do things that you would never have imagined. But it's so important that you stay in there, that you don't give up, that you have staying power. In 1972, NASA launched a satellite called Pioneer 10. It was really a bold endeavor because they had never done this. The goal was to get pictures of Jupiter, and no satellite had ever been farther than Mars. And so they sent out Pioneer 10, and its goal was that it was going to go and take pictures and beam data back to NASA. And so they were amazed because once it got past Jupiter, the gravitational pull of it just sent it on out into space. And at 1 billion miles from the sun, it came to Saturn. And then at 2 billion, it was at Uranus. And then at 3 billion, it was at Neptune. And then at 4 billion miles from the sun, this little satellite, Pioneer 10, 4 billion miles away, was taking pictures of Pluto and still beaming the information back to Earth. But what was even more amazing about it is that it worked on an 8-watt transmitter, the same that would do like a night light in your room. Just a little bit of power, but yet it accomplished incredible things. And that's really a picture of us. It's a picture of a person who has placed their faith in Jesus, who is living for his kingdom. Because we can accomplish incredible things when we give ourselves wholly to the Lord. And so today was just, hey, if there's some things you need to bail out on them. Put those in the past. If there's some things you need to stay in there, you need to, really go all in, do that, all right? I hope this has been an encouragement today. Miss you guys. Let us know if you need anything. We're praying for you, and we'll look forward to seeing you again real soon. God bless. I got enough time.